12. Start of play, cessation of play. 1. Call of play. The bowlers and umpires shall call play before the first ball of the match and on the reception of play after any interval or interruption. 2nd. Call of time. The bowlers and umpires shall call time when the ball is dead at the end of any session of play or as required by these playing conditions. 3rd. Removal of bails. After the call of time, the bails shall be removed from both wickets. 4th. Starting a new over. Another over shall always be started at any time during the match unless an interval is to be taken in the circumstances set out in clauses. If the umpire walking at normal pace has arrived at the position behind the stumps at the bowler's end before the time agreed for the next interval or for the close of play has been reached. 5. Completion of an over. Other than at the end of the match, if the agreed time for an interval is reached during the over shall be completed before the interval is taken, except as provided for in clauses. When less than 3 minutes remains before the time agreed for the next interval, the interval shall be taken immediately if either a batsman is dismissed or retires, or the players have occasion to leave the field. Whether this occurs during an over or at the end of an over, except at the end of an innings, if an over thus interrupted, it shall be completed on the resumption of play. 6. Conclusion of match. The match is concluded as soon as the result as defined in clauses the result is reached. As soon as both the minimum number of overs for the last over are completed and agreed time for close of play is reached, unless a result is reached earlier. The match is concluded if without a conclusion having been reached under clause the players leaving the field for adverse conditions of ground, weather or light or in exceptional circumstances, and no further play is possible. Covers of play and minimum over requirements. 7. All matches shall be played 6 hours scheduled play for day. 9:30 am to 12 noon first session, 12 noon to 12:40 lunch, 12:40 pm to 2:40 second session, 2:40 pm to 3 pm to 4:30 pm last session. If there is a change in time of the start of play, the manager and the captain of both teams, the umpires and the BCCI match referee must be informed in writing as soon as they arrive by the staging association. Minimum overs in a day. On days other than last day, play shall continue on each day until the completion of a minimum target 90 overs or minimum of 15 overs per hour, or the completion of the scheduled or rescheduled cessation of time, whichever is the latter, but provided the play shall not continue for more than 30 minutes beyond the scheduled or rescheduled cessation of time permitted overtime. For the sake of clarity, if any of the minimum target number of overs have not been bowled at the completion of the permitted overtime, play shall cease upon the completion of the over in progress. The overs not bowled shall not be made of any subsequent day. 7. On the last day, a minimum 75 overs or minimum of 15 overs per hour shall be bowled during the playing time other than the last over of the match, where clauses below shall apply. If any of the minimum of 75 overs or recalculated have not been bowled when 1 hour of the scheduled playing time remains, the last over of the match for the purpose of the clauses shall be the hours immediately following the completion of these overs. Reduction in minimum overs. Except in the last hour of the match, for which clauses makes provisions, if play is suspended due to adverse weather or light or any other reason other than normal intervals for more than 1 hour on any day, the minimum number of overs shall be reduced for 1 over each 4 minutes of the aggregate playing time last. For the avoidance of doubt, the aggregate of 1 hour shall be inclusive of any time that may have been brought forward from the previous days due to playing time lost on such a previous days under the clauses below. Making up lost time on the day, subject to weather and light, except in the last hour of match, in the event of play being suspended for any reason other than normal intervals. The playing time on that day shall be extended by the amount of time lost up to a maximum of 1 hour. For the avoidance of doubt, the maximum 1 hour shall be inclusive of any time that may be have been added to the scheduled playing time due to playing time have been lost on the previous days under the clause. On subsequent days, if any time is lost and cannot be made up to under the clauses above, additional time of up to a maximum of 30 minutes per day shall be added to the scheduled playing hours for the next day, and subsequent days as required to make up as much as last time as possible. The additional time so ordered can added to second or third session as decided by on-field umpires. When such additional time is added, the minimum hours for the day shall be increased 1 hour for each 4 minutes of additional time or part of thereof. On the last day only, clauses applies. However, for the purpose of this clause, the definition of the playing time shall exclude the last hour. No time is made up in the respect of any interruption that comes after the start of the last hour. Should play be interrupted prior to the last hour being signaled, the playing time lost will be made up subject to the maximum 1 hour described above within the previously scheduled time for the last hour being updated to reflect the time made up during the interruption. In order to determine the minimum hours to be bowled prior to the last hour and the rescheduled starting time for the last hour, it is necessary to complete the template on Appendix F. Change of intervals. If play has been suspended for any reason other than normal intervals on the day, the time lost can be added the second or third session as decided by on-field umpires. Notwithstanding provisions clause above, the timing intervals can be altered under this clause at any time on any day if playing time has been lost, irrespective of whether the time has been lost on the day or any the previous days. Change of innings. Where there is a change of innings during a day's play, except where the change of innings occurs at lunch or tea or when play is suspended for any reason, 2 overs shall be deducted from the minimum number of overs to be bowled. The over in progress at the end of one innings is regarded as completed over from the purpose of determining the minimum number of overs remaining to be bowled in the day, except when the change of innings occurs the last hour of the match. See clauses. Last hour. A minimum of 15 overs shall be bowled in the last hour, and all calculation with regard of suspension of play at the start of new innings shall be based on 1 over for each full 4 minutes. On the final day, both captains and the batsman at the wicket may act for their captain, and the umpires accept that there now the prospect of either side achieving a victory or getting the first innings lead. They may agree to finish the match anytime after the scheduled or rescheduled time for interval has been reached. Notwithstanding any other provision, there shall be no further play on any day other than the last day. If wicket falls or batsman retires, or if the players have occasion to leave the field during the last minimum over within 3 minutes of scheduled cessation time or thereafter, this shall also apply to the additional time permitted in order to complete the minimum over requirement for the day, irrespective of the number of overs in progress. If an over is interrupted in these circumstances, stumps shall be drawn for the day and over shall be completed on the resumption of play. An over completed on the resumption of new day's play shall be disregarded of calculating minimum overs for the day. Stumps drawn except on final day. In the event of play being suspended for any reason at or after the most recently scheduled or rescheduled cessation times, stumps shall be drawn upon play being suspended. In the event of the players already being off the field for suspension of play at the most recently scheduled or rescheduled cessation time, the stumps shall be drawn at the time. The scoreboard shall the total number of overs bowled with the ball currently in use and the minimum numbers of overs remaining bowled in a day. The penalty shall be slow over rate. Refer to the BCCI Code of Conduct and see clauses 12.9 below. 8. Extra time at the end of the day. And the umpire may decide to play 30 minutes, a minimum of 80 overs extra time at the end of the day other than the last day if requested by either captain. If in the umpire's opinion it would bring about a definite result on the day, this is an addition to the additional time provided for clauses 12.7.3 above. If the umpires do not believe a result can be achieved, no extra time shall be allowed. If it is decided to play such extra time on one or more of these days, the whole period shall be played out even though the possibility of finishing the match may have disappeared before the full period has expired. Only the actual amount of playing time up to the maximum 30 minutes extra time by which play is extended on any day shall be deducted from the total number of hours play remaining, and the match shall end earlier on the final day by the amount of the time by which play is previously extended under this clause. If at the conclusion of this extra time a small number of runs are required to win the match and both the captains wish to continue playing in order to achieve the definite result on the day, play will continue until either the match concludes or the players have cause to leave the field for any other reason. At the lunch or tea interval, the umpires may decide to extend to play by 15 minutes, a minimum of 4 overs at the scheduled lunch or tea interval of any day if requested by either captain. If in the opinion of umpire's opinion, it would bring about a definite result in that session. If the umpires do not believe a result can be achieved, no extra time shall be allowed. If it is decided to extend play, the whole period shall be played out even though the possibility of finishing the match may have disappeared before the full period has expired. The following session of play shall be reduced by the amount of time by which play was previously extended under this clause. If at the conclusion of this extra time a small number of runs are required to win the match and both the captains wish to continue play in order to achieve definite result prior to that scheduled interval, play will continue until either the match concludes, the players have cause to leave the field for any other reason. For the avoidance of doubt, clauses 11.7 shall still apply subsequent to the application of these clauses. When 9 wickets are down following the extra 15 minutes, however, this clause shall not apply when this clause has already been applied. 15 minutes shall not be added at the end of 30 minutes extra time. 9. Minimum over rates. The minimum over rate to be achieved in multi-day matches shall be 15 overs per hour. The actual over rate shall be calculated at the end of each innings by the umpires, match referee. In calculating the actual over rate for each innings, allowances will be given as follows. The time loss as a result of treatment given to a player by authorized medical personnel on the field of play. The time lost as a result of player being required to leave the field as a result of serious injury. The time taken for all third umpire referrals and consultations. The time lost as a result of time wasting by the batting side, which may in addition constitute a separate offence defense on context series of incident, and the time lost due to all other circumstances that are beyond the control of fielding side. 2 minutes for wickets taken provided that such a wicket result in the subsequent batsman immediately commencing his innings. For the avoidance of any doubt, no time allowance will be given for the final wicket of innings where wicket falls immediately prior to any interval. 4 minutes per drinks break taken, one per session. In the event of any time allowances being granted to the follow fielding team under the clause above, time wasting by the batting team, then such a time shall be deducted from the allowance granted to such a batting team in the determination of its overhead. If a batting team is bowled out or declares its innings closed in less than 50 overs in any particular innings, no account will be taken of the actual over rate in that innings when the calculating the actual over rate at the end of such an innings. In case of innings is not completed for any reason, the over rate penalty will still be applicable provided 50 or more overs have been completed in that innings. For the sake of clarity, over rate penalty is applicable even if there is an outright result in the match. 10. Last over of match number of overs. The bowlers and umpires shall indicate the commencement of these 15 overs to players and to the scorers. The period of play thereafter shall be referred to as the last over, whatever its actual duration. During an uninterrupted last over, play will continue until the end of the over in progress when 60 minutes have been played or until 15 overs have been bowled, whichever is later. Last over of match interruptions play 11. If there is an interruption in play during the last over of match, the minimum number of overs to be bowled shall be reduced from 15 as follows. The time lost from the interruption counted from the time call-up time until the time resumption as decided by the umpire. 1 over shall be deducted for every complete 4 minutes of time lost. In the case of more than one such interruption, the minutes lost shall not be aggregated. The calculation shall be made for each interruption separately. When 1 hour playing time remains, an interruption is already in progress. Only the time lost after this moment shall be counted in the calculation. The over in progress at the start of the interruption shall be completed on the resumption and shall not count as one of the minimum number of overs to be bowled. If after the start of the last over, an interruption occurs during an over, the over shall be completed on the resumption of play. The two parts of over shall between them count as one of the over minimum number of overs to be bowled. 12. Last over of match interval between innings. If an innings ends so that new innings is to be started during the last over of the match, the interval starts with the end of the innings and is end to 10 minutes later. If this interval is already progress at the start of the last over, then to determine the number of overs to be bowled in the new innings, calculation ought to be made set out in clauses. If the innings ends after the last over has started, two calculations ought to be made as set out in the clauses. The greater or number of the yielded by these two calculations is to be minimum number of overs to be bowled in the new innings. Calculation based on overs remaining. At the conclusion of the innings, the number of overs that remaining to be bowled of the minimum numbers in the last over to be noted. If this is not a whole number, is to be rounded up the next whole number. 2 overs for the interval to be deducted from the resulting number of to determine the number of overs still to be bowled. Calculation based on time remaining. At the conclusion of the innings, the time remaining until the agreed time for close of play is to be noted. 10 minutes for the interval to be deducted from this time to determine the playing time remaining. The calculation is to be made 1 over for every complete 4 minutes of the playing time remaining, plus 1 more over if for the part of 4 minutes remaining. 13. Completion of the last over of the match. The over in progress at the close of play on the final day shall be completed unless either a result has been reached or the players have occasion to leave the field. In this case, there shall be no resumption of play except in the circumstances, mistakes in scoring, and the match shall be at an end. 14. Bowler unable to complete an over during last over of match. If for any reason a bowler is unable to complete an over during the last over, bowler incapacitated or suspended during an over shall apply. The separate parts of each an over shall count as one of the over minimum to be bowled.